This is a portable power station released by BLAVOR. It's got 1,024 watts of battery capacity. It's got some really cool and unique features which a lot of power stations just don't have. And so today I just want to give a full breakdown of this power station, some of the features that it has. I'll run some tests on it so you can see what this can actually power, and then I'll just give my overall thoughts and opinion in case you're thinking about getting it. I do want to mention I was sent this product for free. However, everything in this video is going to be my honest thoughts and review. So first off, before we get into the specs and everything, I just want to go over the overall design of this power station because I think it is a really unique and cool design. So it's kind of like a briefcase shape, as you can see, which is actually really nice because I feel like it just makes it a lot easier to carry around. You have a handle right here and it's really thin, and so it's gonna be really easy to carry this thing around with one hand because it's so thin. You know, it's not gonna be running into your leg as much, things like that. You know, compared to a lot of the other power stations out there, you can see that because they're a little bit more bulky, sometimes it might be a little bit harder to carry, or you have to carry it with two hands and it's just harder to walk that way. With this one, because it has the briefcase design, you know, it's pretty easy to walk around and just hold it with one hand, which is super nice. Probably the most unique feature about this power station and the overall design is that this actually has a built-in 40-watt solar panel. And I've never really seen a portable power station that has this built into it. I don't think I've ever seen it. But yeah, basically it has a solar panel on the front that you can fold and open up. You know, when you're walking around, you can close it. And then when you want to charge this thing up, you can just pull out the solar panel, and this is going to automatically start charging with the sun once this is open. So it's pretty awesome. Over here on the back, you have this little stand right here that you can actually adjust so it folds into place and you don't even notice it, you know, when you're not using it. But then it can fold out like this, and then it allows you to be able to get, you know, whatever angle you want essentially when you're setting up the solar panel. So you can actually set it up a little bit like this, you know, higher up if you want. However, when it's all the way down, I feel like it gives you the best shot at getting the best sunlight, and it's really cool. You know, having a 40-watt solar panel is going to be super nice. Now, obviously, it's only 40 watts, and so it's going to take a little bit, you know, a while to charge, but it is super nice that when you're taking this thing with you on the go, you don't have to carry extra solar panels or anything like that. You can just carry this around by itself, and then you can set up solar panels when you need it to charge. But moving on with the rest of the power station, we'll talk about the solar charging a little bit later. On the side over here, you have all of your different charging ports. You have a screen as well, which is super nice. So everything's pretty much there to charge it up or to power your devices. And then over here, you don't have anything, you just have the stand. And then going over here to the other side, you just have some information right here. And then you have some fans right here or some vents to help keep this thing cool. But now we'll get into the actual specs of the power station. So as far as the overall battery capacity, this has a 1,024 watt battery capacity. It is a lithium iron phosphate or LFP battery, which is nice because those are some of the most reliable and safest batteries out there. And BLAVOR claims that the battery has up to 3,500 battery life cycles to degrade down to 80%. And so if you were to use this thing completely full and empty it out every single day, it'd be able to last, you know, at least 10 years, and that's just to degrade it down to 80%. Now, a lot of us won't be using this thing every single day, so it should be able to last a lot longer than that as well, which is pretty nice. And BLAVOR also does have a 4-year warranty with this as well. But over here on the front, you have your two AC outlets. This does have a max AC continuous output up to 1,600 watts. So pretty good for a 1,000 watt power station. So that is on the high end of portable power stations in the 1,000 watt range. I know there's a few out there that can get up to 1,800 watts, but 1,600 watts is actually really good, especially for this size, compact size and everything. It can surge up to 3,200 watts though as well. And so with the, you know, over 1,000 watts of battery capacity and that output, you're going to be able to power about 90-95% of the items in your house. You know, refrigerators, TVs, cooking devices for camping, things like that. And you should be able to run your refrigerator for a pretty long time, you know, around 10 hours, or if not even more than that, depending on your refrigerator, which is pretty awesome. And when you do want to turn on the AC outlets, you just click this AC button right here and the lights will turn on and everything, and then you can start using it. You do have a screen as well that shows your output, you know, AC output. It'll show your input as well. It'll show when the solar's on, and then it also has your battery level right here as well. And then you also have your DC ports. If you want to turn those on, you can turn them on and off, and it shows up here on the lights. And as you can see right here, you do have two USB-As, two 18-watt USB-As, you know, to charge your phone, laptop, things like that. And then you do have a fast-charging 100-watt USB-C, which is nice. You even have these DC outputs right here. And then you also have an input right here where you can actually input more solar panels, which is actually really cool about this power station, is that you can have 40 watts of solar input with the built-in solar panel, but then you can actually plug in an additional solar panel. You get up to 30 volts of input, so about a 100-watt solar panel. And you can plug those solar panels in at the same time, and then you can get even more solar charging as well, which is pretty awesome. And then down here, you also have another DC, you know, 12-volt charger as well right here with the car charger, you know, input right here. But now that we talked about some of the features on the power station itself, I want to actually run some tests. I'm going to plug some things in here and we're going to see if it can actually get up to that 1600 watts of continuous output. I'm also going to take it outside and we're going to see how much power, this 40 watt solar panel can actually give the power station. All right, so I have some different devices here so we can run some tests. I have a panini maker, a toaster, and then a little mini blender. This one uses about 1,000 watts. This one uses about 700 watts on one side. So we're going to test it out and we're going to see maybe the overload protection as well, because this does have overload protection if you, input more than 1,600 watts, or if it's outputting more than 1,600 watts, it should shut off. If it's continuously, it has a 3,200 watts of surge, but that's just initially. So if it continually has more than 1,600, it should shut off. So we'll test that out. First off, I'm going to do this panini maker. It uses about 1,000 watts, so it'll be a good test. This has a max of 1,600, so it should be able to handle it no problem. But as you can see, I have the output on right now, the AC output. So I'm going to plug it in, and the light immediately turned on. So that's nice. And as you can see, it actually updates the screen. So it's showing about 1,200 watts. So pretty cool to see that. There we go. It's powering it no problem at all. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but you can kind of hear. I'll put the microphone back here. You can hear the fans a little bit. It's not loud. It's not really loud at all, but you can hear it a little bit. So it does make a little more noise when you actually plug something in. All right, now it kind of went down a little bit. But yeah, we're still going strong at 1,200 watts. No problem at all. I'm actually going to plug in this blender here as well. I think this uses about only 100 watts. But it'll add a little bit more power and we can see how much it can handle. So I have this plugged in too. Turn this on. Now we're up to about 1,400. And so yeah, I was able to run those no problem at all as well, which is pretty awesome to see. And you could even have more things to plug in. You could plug in your phone, laptop, and things like that, and you'd still be able to run this. So that's a pretty cool thing to see there, that it can run those multiple devices at the same time. It doesn't show how long you have to run it. A lot of power stations on the screen, it'll show you, you have 2 hours left or something if you're running this much power. This one doesn't show that, so that's kind of interesting. But it does show the actual output and everything right there, and the voltage right there, which is pretty cool. But now we're going to run a test with the toaster as well. This should be over 1,600 watts, but I want to see if it's actually able to lower the heat or if it's just going to shut off because it's over the 1,600 watts of capacity. It might just overload. I think it is going to use the overload protection, but we'll see. So I'm going to plug in the toaster first, turn it on, and yeah, we have the AC output on. I'm going to click the toaster on right here. There we go. And we're using about 700 watts. And this was about 1,300 watts, so it's going to be about 2,000 watts once it's plugged in. So it should, the overload protection should kick on, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to plug it in here. Boom. And it's on. Boom. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, now the overload protection turned on. Both of them turned off. And that's actually good to see because you don't want to, the power system to try to keep running if you do overload it and put more power in there. And so as you can see, if you do go over the 1,600 watt range, it will shut off and you just have to turn it back on again. And then you should be good to go again. But it is nice that it does have that safety protection there. So if you do try to overload it, it's going to shut off. But it should be able to have up to that 1,600 watt range, as you guys could see earlier with this and with the blender going at the same time. So pretty cool test to see. And then now we'll actually test out the DC power as well. So I have a phone right here and I have the Type-C plugged in. So first I'm going to plug in this right here, the Type-C, and we'll see if it's able to charge it. Sorry, that's a little hard to show with one hand, but as you can see, it's plugged in now and it's using about 9 watts of output. It's outputting about 9 watts and look at that, we're charging right now. So definitely does work. And then I just plugged in this microphone case into the USB-A, and as you can see, it's blinking, so it is also charging. And at the same time, the phone is charging as well. We'll test out this USB-A as well. Boom. See if the light turns on, and the light turns on as well. So both USB-A works. Now it's outputting about 28 watts. And so that's good to know. All the outlets and everything worked, which they should. But it was cool to see the actual max AC output and everything to use with these. With the toaster and the panini maker. All right, now I just want to show you guys the solar panel outside. Honestly, it's not a very sunny day. It's pretty cloudy right now, so there shouldn't be that much sun, but I want to show you guys when it's on. As you can see, immediately now it's going to show it inputting solar. So it's only inputting about 6 watts right now, so not very much, just because It's very cloudy right now and cold. But it's still cool to see that, you know, right when you pull it open, it's immediately going to turn on the screen. I'll show you guys right here actually too. If I put it down, as you can see, it automatically went down. It went down to 3 watts, now down to 0. And then right when you open this up, boom, you're gonna immediately see that wattage coming in, 6 watts right now. But it'll be more if it's actually a sunny day. And then lastly, I forgot to mention that it actually does come with this little pouch as well, which is nice. This has all the different charging cables. You have a manual here that shows you everything, all the specs for it and stuff. And then you do get some different charging things right here. You also get some adapters as well, which is nice. So you get some adapters for the different chargers you have, you know, if you have a different kind of charger. But you get this AC wall charger right here. It's a pretty big charger actually. It comes with this box as well. And then you get a car charger so you can charge this with your car. And then you also get this kind of charger right here, which I'm not really sure is for. I think this is actually for like in semi trucks and stuff. You could plug this in or something like that, but it comes with this cord as well, which is pretty cool. And this actually brings me to my next point I wanted to mention. So one kind of downside to this power station is actually the charging. So I'm going to test this out and see how much input we can actually have in this. But in the manual here, you can see the wall charging. It's going to take about 5 hours to charge. And with the car charger, it's going to be about 6 to 12 hours, which is normal for the car. But for an outlet, generally, you know, for an outlet charging in a 1,000 watt power station, a lot of times you're going to be able to charge it out in about an hour or two. So this is going to take a little bit longer than some of the normal power stations out there. It takes 5 hours. But, you know, other power stations don't have the built-in solar panel, and they're not in this small kind of thin shape. And so it is a benefit to have, but there's also downsides. As you can see, the charging is a little bit slower, but I'll actually plug it in and we'll see how much input this thing can have. All right, so I just plugged it in and we're just going to plug it in right here, and we'll see how much input we can get. Right now, showing about 38 watts. Should hopefully go higher than that. Usually it starts off slow in most power stations and then it builds up. So let's see what it actually gets to. And actually this is already like full too. So if it wasn't as full, it'd be charging faster. So this is just a test, I guess, if it's already at like 80%. But as you can see, it continually rises up. Yeah, we're getting about 200 watts right now. So that means, you know, so I think that is pretty accurate. About 4 or 5 hours to charge this thing if you're at, you know, the 200 watt range. But it is actually climbing still. So yeah, it's looking like with the charger, you're going to get about a little bit over 200 watts of input, which is not the best for a 1,000 watt power station. And the manual claims it can charge about 4 or 5 hours or so with the AC wall outlet. So that's a little bit longer than some of the other power stations out there. However, a lot of power stations don't have a built-in solar panel and are not in this, you know, nice briefcase shape. And so there are benefits, and, you know, there's some things that maybe aren't as good, like the charging. All right, so overall, as far as my just thoughts and opinion goes, I think this is a pretty awesome power station. I kind of wish that a lot of other brands did this design with the briefcase, just because I do feel like it does make a big difference when you're carrying this thing around. And it is really nice that you don't have to bring solar panels with you. You know, you can just have this right here and you're ready to go, and it can charge up right away. Now you can also bring solar panels if you want to. You know, you can put about 100 watts of solar in there as well, and then you can charge it even faster. I think that is awesome to see. It's just a really portable design. You know, when we're thinking about a portable power station, you definitely want it to be portable. And this is nice because it's in that 1,000 watt range where you can power like 90-95% of the items in your house, or refrigerator for like, you know, about 10 hours or so. But it's still portable enough to where you can easily take this with you on the go. You can take it with you camping. And so it is really nice that it has that. I will say the only downside to this thing that I see is just the charging. I wish the charging was a little bit faster, at least the wall charging, just because a lot of power stations in the 1,000 watt range can charge up from 0 to 100% in like a little over an hour. And this one taking 4 to 5 hours, that's quite a bit longer than those ones. And so that is the only like really downside I see to it. But other than that, I think it is an awesome power station. As you can see, the output is great. You know, it does reach that 1,600 watts of continuous output, which is good for a 1,000 watt power station. And yeah, just I feel like that as an overall design is really cool and really convenient for a power station. So if you guys are looking for a power station in the 1,000 watt range, definitely recommend checking this out. It's a good option in my opinion.